So when I put a timing belt on this car, looked it up in the book, and that wheel, it's not a harmonic balancer, it's just a crankshaft pulley. That nut gets torqued at, it's a bolt, gets torqued at 150 foot-pounds. So as you can see, there's holes all the way around it, like Ezekiel's wheel. So the newer cars, well, they designed them where if you don't have this tool to fit up inside that, you can't take it off. So you either have to make one or buy it from somewhere. So I was fortunate that the dealership sold me this particular tool. Anyway, so with the older cars, you can stick that through the hole. It's pretty hard, as you can see what it is. It's designed to drill around holes. And the cool thing about these older cars is, if you'll notice right here, well, that's a hardened point on the subframe. At least that's what I call it. Because when you put this in there and it rotates up, it's going to rest on something. Whoops, sorry. It's going to rest on something just like that, and it helps make that stronger. So the rest of this subframe is just rounded, so this makes it a little stronger there in that one spot. So of course I use a jack stand and a hardened socket. On an extension. Yes, it's going to rain, so I've been out there trying to mow already. Because if you don't do that, then you don't have any support when you get ready to break that loose. So I don't have a cheater pipe to go over my torque wrench for that. And then I have to try to give it the Hades. So I can't, it's a two-handed job for me. So I'm going to stop here and break it loose. I spent most of this morning ordering me a camera and a video stand. Okay, anyway. And there it is, loose. Okay, no, I don't have enough air pressure to hammer that off. If I had a 55-gallon air compressor tank, they'd pump up 300 air pressure on that Cutler hammer impact. Then I could take that off. But I'm not taking it off. All I'm trying to do is, all I wanted to do was loosen it up. And again, the book said, crazy cell phone. Again, the book said 150 foot-pounds. So that's what I torqued it up to. So I'm using a shop light to hold the cell phone in place. As you can see from the yellow paint and the writing that's on that. It's original brake rotor, and it's in fantastic shape because we took care of our cars, except for in the case of this car getting in an automobile accident, which we couldn't do anything about that other than not drive it on the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my punch, since I'm down here, and right here, this nut, this part is swagged into a keeper, which is supposed to keep it from coming off, and I'm going to see if I can have enough air pressure. I've seen people put the business to that with their socket without bending that out and just stripping them off. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a touch of penetrating oil in there, or whatever you want to call it, because those axles have to come out. There's a lot of other work that has to be done to that, and I'm going to stop the video now. I'm going to go turn my air compressor on and let it run for a while and build up enough pressure and see if it'll air hammer that off without me having to physically put a wheel on it and do something similar to what I did to that crankshaft pulley. Later on, we'll get into the tools that I use to undo the tie rod end, which is right here, and then underneath it, which is part of the, as Honda was always proud of talking about, a double wishbone suspension. So okay, so I got some overhead fluorescent lighting. I'm going to put the socket on that CH impact. I'm going to see what happens. And there it is. That nut had never been off. But you can't do that with that crankshaft pulley. It just, I can't do it. But I can do that with these. I have them set up. So we'll put that back on there. And yes, I'm wearing the glove on one hand because this hand hurts all the time. And it's a distraction technique for whatever reason, because I had something on my hand. It works. So I'm not going to set up and film me taking the nut off the other side. I'm just going to go do it. And apparently that took just a minute. So I'll be done with the other nut on that side in about that amount of time too. Side is off too. So like I said, nice little numbers that's written all on there. So when the car's being put together, somebody's actually going around and going, okay, yeah, they actually put a bolt in there and they appear to be tight. A lot of places when you go in for a brake job, when they take those out, they just throw those away. Well, what they do is they hold your rotor to the hub assembly and to me it makes it easier to put your brakes on and off. But I guess each to his own. So I'm gonna put that back on there just because I can. And so that's the upper A plate. They changed where the pivot points for those were in years to come. Man, it's getting ready to storm out there. There's that lower A plate, well, lower control arm. As you can see, it's in two pieces. There's a bolt that goes through both ends, and that's one of the wishbones, and you have to disconnect. You have to take that nut out. And then lower the control arm down so you can pull the drive shaft out. And you have to do all of that before you pull the transmission and the motor. So, but that, like they say on Fallout, that's a story for another time. And yes, I should have already disconnected the battery. So it's tricky on them cars, as the nut that you want to loosen up is so close to the firewall, and you will touch it with a ratchet, as I have done many times. So there. I'm going to take the battery out and get it out of my way so I can start doing some other electrical stuff. So on the little cars, and I may have a time being able to get it to capture on camera, because I literally have the cell phone propped up on that big light. So on both sides are a set of connectors like this, and on these connectors you can disconnect them. Of course, this one's broke, it slides over there, and the wiring harness stays on the motor on both sides, so you don't have to disconnect the wiring harness off the motor, which is a pain in the tail. So generally, what I do is take a pair of needle nose pliers. Sometimes I can just do it that way. It's not going to cooperate today. So I'm going to have to go find a, see, there it is, it came apart. And then disconnect the one off of the bottom. And then the other one on the bottom. This wiring harness is bolted to a spot here, and then it runs into the fuse box here. I need to go find my wrench. And then that nut and bolt and bracket. And then you do the same thing on the other side.